Welcome back, Patriots. Joe Biden is once again wielding his authoritative club upon all us Americans and also just blatantly ignoring Supreme Court rulings by putting forth a new student debt relief plan for millions of borrowers. This was announced on Monday, and the proposed plan would largely affect those with runaway interest, as well as borrowers who have been paying on loans for 20 years and would qualify for forgiveness under income driven repayment plans and those experiencing hardship. Now, as I mentioned, the Supreme Court has already struck this down as saying, hey, this is an overreach of the executive branch, but hell, it's not going to stop Joe Biden. It's not going to stop the Democrat Party from overreaching through the executive branch to put forth something like this. Here's Chuck Schumer just salivating out of the mouth regarding this student loan debt forgiveness plan from the Biden administration. Let's roll it.
Now, on student loan debt. Since the day the president took office, I've urged him to use every tool available to cancel as much student debt as possible. Yesterday, the American people received some exciting news. President Biden, to his credit, announced a new executive action to provide student debt relief to nearly 30 million more Americans. Specifically, the president's plan will automatically forgive interest accrued on existing student loans for 25 million borrowers. The president's plan will also automatically cancel the full amount of debt for over 4.5 million Americans who have already qualified for forgiveness through a decade in a repayment program. And it will provide more than 10 million borrowers with at least $5,000 in debt relief. This announcement is a clear sign that the president is listening. He's listening to Congress's call to take action, which I've done for years. And he's listening to the pleas of millions of borrowers who want to get their lives back on track. So today's announcement is good news. It's good news for everyone, particularly for young people and people of color.
Oh, it's good news. It's good news for you young people. All of us are getting screwed because we paid for our college. We paid off our debt. My question has always been, folks, why are we just limiting it to student loan debts? Why are we not expanding this to mortgage debt, auto debt, credit card debt? Why are we just limiting it to this? There's such a door that's being open here for the Democrat Party to continue to provide handouts to people across the board. I'm not responsible for your debt, nor are you responsible for mine. But this is how the Democrat Party functions, folks. They make people reliable on the government, the federal government, the state level, the local level, and this is how they get votes, folks. They are buying votes at the end of the day in the same way they've been doing it with illegal immigration as well, except they're doing it here. Let this knucklehead continue. Of course, they're going to race into the mix, so I'm going to backtrack it a little bit. You hear him just bring up race, as if white people, Asians, and other people don't struggle with debt as well.
People of color. And Democrats will continue exploring every option under the sun to lower costs and make college more affordable. Already, the president's plan has removed the total debt burden for over 4 million Americans. This plan goes much further. But on the other...
It's just really wild stuff. Oh, we're not done yet, folks, because what's remarkable is just the hypocrisy that's coming out from this administration. And what you're going to see here is two video clips from prior White House press briefings, the first one being on March 1st, and I believe the second one being on March 12th, where Jackie Heinrich of Fox News questions Karine Jean-Pierre regarding immigration. Now, I understand this video is talking about student loan debt forgiveness, but the hypocrisy comes in the form of utilizing executive action when it works in favor for your narrative and to push through policies in which wouldn't have been approved by Congress, who has the keys to the purse and would very much be on board or not on board regarding this, because again, they're the ones that should dictate where the money goes, not the executive branch. And she gets caught here in her hypocrisy regarding, well, why is it okay to use executive action when it comes to student debt forgiveness, but not when it comes to the border? And you're going to push, well, we think it's legislative importance to push something like the border issue upon Congress, but not when it comes to student debt forgiveness. So here's a hypocrisy. Let's roll it.
They get in the way.
Immigration overhaul versus narrow action that he could take to secure the border, improve the situation that we're seeing ravaging communities.
We took action at the end of last year, worked with Republicans in the Senate, Democrats in the Senate, came up with a bipartisan agreement that would actually make a difference. I mean, it's Congress's job to legislate. It is their job to legislate.
We're afraid of legal challenges with things like student loans.
Here's the thing.
You used executive orders when you wanted to.
We have taken
Correct.
Action over the last 3 years on the border. We've taken policy action. We have taken action. The president has. Now we need to get it into a place where we can actually make a real difference on the border challenges that we're seeing. And we did. I mean, this is
So she's going to sit there and blame Republicans. But folks, just about 2 weeks later, on March 12th, Jackie Heinrich follows up here, and you're going to see here on how she goes, well, yeah, we should think legislative avenues should be the ones and the routes of which we go when it comes to immigration. But again, when it comes to student loan debt forgiveness, screw what the Supreme Court says. Screw that's an overreach of the executive branch. We're going to do it anyways because we can't get it through Congress. Here we go.
Thank you, Kareem. The president said yesterday that he was hoping executive action on the border would happen by itself, that Congress would legislate it. Can you just confirm for us that this indicates that he's no longer considering executive action on the border?
Well, the president has been very clear, and I've been very clear. Anytime I've asked about executive actions here, the bottom line is, in order to actually have change, extensive change, real change, comprehensive change, that Senate bill that was negotiated between Republicans and obviously Democrats in the Senate would have been the best way to go. It would have been the toughest, fairest piece of legislation, law, if you will, if it had been moved and the president was able to sign it into law. And that's what's important. The president is trying to make it very clear: no executive action would have that effect, the effect that this bipartisan negotiation would have had. And he's going to be optimistic. He wants to see it moved. And let's not forget the reason why it was stopped, the reason that it didn't go forward.
And she gets pressed on this by Jackie Heinrich. But again, for me just to show this to you, points to the hypocrisy from the Biden White House that shows that they're going to use executive action when it fits their narrative. The border doesn't fit their narrative, folks. They've already called Donald Trump racist, a bigot, a homophobe, a xenophobe, all the names you can get out of the Webster's dictionary. They've called Donald Trump for what he did on the border, trying to secure our border for national security purposes, but also to execute the laws in the books, which is his job. Joe Biden doesn't want to do that, but he'll sit there and utilize the executive branch in ways that weren't supposed to function to sit there and push through, again, the student loan debt forgiveness. And as I've mentioned, they're going to bring race into this, and I kind of cut it off with Chuck Schumer there in the video, but the administration has helped emphasizing how its actions will help Black and Latino borrowers and those who went to community college who are more likely to struggle with student loan debt. The question is, why are they more likely to struggle with student loan debt? You know, could it just be affordable, affirmative action that's been in place that's a racist policy implemented pretty much by the progressive left and Democrat Party? Could maybe that be it, that you're allowing certain ethnicities and races to get implemented into institutions and colleges of which they never should be in the first place because it can't compete with those around them? Maybe that could be it. By the way, that's not my idea. That comes from Thomas Sowell's idea in Discrimination and Disparities. But this is what's taking place here. And what I find interesting is, why are you emphasizing Black and Latinos? Why are we not emphasizing whites or Native Americans or all the other ethnicities and races that are out there? Kind of odd that they're always focusing on Black and Latino people, which, again, I don't think it should have anything to do with race. I should have everything to do with character. And if you can't pay off your loans, well, you made a terrible mistake in your life, and I feel for you. Not my responsibility to pay off your debt, but somehow the Democrat Party finds it our responsibility to pay off other people's debts. And like I said, why are we stopping here? Why don't we pay off people's auto loans? Why don't we pay off people's mortgages? Why don't we pay off people's credit cards? Why are we just being so stupid by just stopping here? We know why, folks. They're buying votes at the end of the day because now all these people are going to feel that they got a handout and they owe the Democrat Party their vote this coming November. These actions are expected to provide significant relief to Black and Latino borrowers, borrowers who attended community colleges, borrowers who are financially vulnerable because they took out debt but never had the chance to complete their degree. Why? And again, it sounds terrible. Why is this my problem? It's not my problem. I took out a loan. I sat there and worked multiple jobs, and I paid it off. I busted my ass to pay off a $60,000 student loan. I did that. I didn't ask for a handout. You're not responsible for my debt, just as I'm not responsible for any of yours. And I know you guys understand that, but again, the Democrat Party doesn't, because we're responsible for everybody else's personal doings. You notice that? Ukraine, Gaza, Hamas, Iran. I mean, you name where we send money all over the world. We're paying off other people's problems, which is insane. And to some degree, yes, we should do that through humanitarian aid. But on the other end, if you continually sit there and perform this type of action, where does it stop? And it also, it incentivizes the behavior, not paying off your loans, because you know that the government's just going to bail you out. And I shouldn't even say the government, the taxpayer. We saw this with the banks, which is why the banks were doing stupid stuff once again, just all but like 2 years ago with Credit Suisse and others. So you're just incentivizing the wrong behavior. But again, it's typical because the Democrat Party doesn't sit there and incentivize personal responsibility. The responsibility is passed on to everybody else. Case in point right here. Case in point right here. And not only that, not only do they not sit there and incentivize personal responsibility, but also they pass that personal responsibility onto all of you and utilizing the overreach of the executive branch to actually do it, which is a remarkable thing. It's one thing to go through Congress and sit there and remove that aspect of personal responsibility and do it through the correct channels, but it's a whole nother thing to give the double middle finger to the American people, as well as the Supreme Court that's already ruled that said this is an overreach of the executive branch. That's a whole nother thing, but hell, we shouldn't expect anything less from the Democrat Party, folks. Let me know what you think about this. Are you responsible for somebody else's debt? And if so, where does that stop? Let me know in the comment section below. Holy Lordy, we're on a rant. I'm a little sick, folks, but I appreciate your support. Nonetheless, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you, folks, and I'll see you next time here on The Bob Brown Show.